as a black astrophysicist. How are you processing this?
Yeah, so when I grew up, people said, "Oh, did you want to be an astronaut when you were a kid?" I said no, because it was clear they were not interested in me.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've stumbled across this video from CNN where Neil deGrasse Tyson is getting interviewed by the CNN host on multiple issues. And honestly, this conversation goes to some really important places that we need to talk about. Make sure you watch until the end, because Neil drops some absolute truth bombs in the final segment that completely expose the hypocrisy we're seeing right now. And please comment down below where you're from. I love seeing all the progressives comment down here every day. It genuinely makes my day knowing there's a community of people who care about this stuff and aren't afraid to have these conversations. Thank you guys so much for the support. It means everything. And if you're new here, or you've been watching but haven't subscribed yet, please hit that like button and subscribe now. It really helps the channel grow and get these messages out to more people. All right, let's get into the video.
Tonight, NASA versus Elon Musk. So NASA's top officials are firing back at Musk. One former senior NASA official, just moments ago, told CNN that they never received an offer from Musk's SpaceX to bring home the 2 U.S. astronauts stuck in space. They never got that offer. Now, why were they saying that? Well, because they were responding to Musk's claims that the 2 astronauts had been left in space for, quote, political reasons. The astronauts themselves, they're up there, and they had to deny this.
We don't feel abandoned. We don't feel stuck. We don't feel stranded.
I mean, they are on the International Space Station having to respond to this. I mean, it's just some moments in all this where you go, this is really insane. Multiple astronauts going after Musk after these claims, including Andreas Morgensen, who called Musk's claim a lie on X. Musk responded, and I'm going to just quote what Musk said. He called this astronaut, quote, fully retarded and an idiot. So on that note, let's bring in astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, the author of the new book, Merlin's Tour of the Universe, Traveler's Guide to Blue Moons, Black Holes, Mars, Stars, and Everything Far. It is a prominent place on my bookshelf. I put it in the travel section, should I ever get to
just in case.
Travel.
Yeah.
You know, when I was organizing, that's what I did. Okay, this topic that, right, Musk says that this was, political, that Biden wouldn't bring them down. They have to be, these astronauts denying it on the space station. NASA denies it. An astronaut says it's not true, and Musk, uses those horrible words to respond to the person. I mean, what is your response to all of this?
Well, let's go to the beginning of it all. The 2 astronauts were never stranded in any normal way we would use that term. And they were joining a half a dozen other astronauts on the International Space Station. There's plenty of food. Maybe they didn't bring enough changes of underwear. I don't know. But that would be like the worst case scenario. They're both experienced astronauts. And while I don't remember whether this is the longest time they spent in 0G in their astronaut career, but it's a while, and so they have to adjust to that, but they're professionals, so they're not stranded. Second, what a luxury it is to have a conversation about he said, she said, and who said what, when, I mean, think about it. We have options to bring them back from space. One of them is SpaceX.
Right.
And that's evidence to me that we are living in the future, that no one is worried about whether there exists a ship to bring them back. The Starliner for Boeing, that had some risk factors. NASA was not going to take that risk. So you push that aside. Who's up next? There's SpaceX. I'm good with that. And the rest of this is just distraction.
Yeah.
Okay, so the CNN host just told us that Elon Musk called an astronaut a deeply offensive ableist slur and an idiot. Let that sink in for a second. An astronaut, someone who literally risked their life for space exploration, someone who went through years of training, and Musk just casually throws out slurs because they called out his lie. And here's what gets me so heated about this. This isn't just about one insult. This is about power. Musk has so much influence right now that he can publicly degrade a NASA astronaut and people will still defend him. He lied about astronauts being abandoned for political reasons, got called out by the actual people involved, and instead of admitting he was wrong, he attacks them personally. That's not leadership. That's bullying with a billion-dollar megaphone. Neil deGrasse Tyson said the 2 astronauts were never stranded in any normal way we would use that term. And he's absolutely right. They were on the International Space Station with other astronauts, with supplies, with options. But Musk needed to create drama, needed to make it political, needed to position himself as the hero. And when actual experts push back, he insults them. What frustrates me is how this poisons the well for legitimate conversation. Neil even said we have options to bring them back from space. One of them is SpaceX, right? And that's evidence to me that we are living in the future. He's celebrating the fact that we have multiple solutions. But instead of focusing on this incredible achievement, that we live in a time where rescuing astronauts from space is a logistical question, not a crisis. We're talking about Musk's ego and his attacks on professionals. This is what happens when one person has too much unchecked power in too many spaces. SpaceX does incredible work, but that doesn't give Musk the right to spread misinformation and then attack people who correct him. Science should be about facts, not feelings. And right now, feelings are winning.
It is. I mean, it is unfortunate. I say, you read it and you think about people reading it and people using such words, especially people who have achieved so much and you run SpaceX, you have all of the things that someone has to speak like that. At best, it's deeply unfortunate. Let me ask you, Neil, also, the other context here is these asteroids, right? So then the city killer asteroid, I guess it's called.
Well, meanwhile, there's asteroids bearing down on Earth.
So,
maybe
so
somebody
in
should
case
pay
we don't
attention
destroy it ourselves, there's something else to do it for us. Okay, so it was kind of up and it was down, it was vacillating all over the place, and now they're downplaying that particular asteroid that they say now is more unlikely to hit a city.
It's not so much downplaying. There's better evidence available to tighten the uncertainty circle such that Earth is basically no longer at risk.
All right. So,
by the way, that circle still encloses the moon. So the moon's risk. The moon
so Seven Eves becomes a reality. The Neil Stephenson book I enjoyed. Right, you break up the moon and the pieces start coming down.
Yeah.
But I know asteroids are a very serious thing, and there's only so much ability, and I think this is what this brought to bear, to see them within the time frame that one could do anything about it.
Yes, that's a perfectly stated concern. And so we have some telescopes coming online very shortly that specialize in the discovery of very dim asteroids. And these are the ones that can sneak up on us and not give us much time to react, either to deflect it, which NASA has been building that kind of technology. They had a mission, the DART mission, Double Asteroid Redirect Test, just a couple of years ago, successfully altered the path of an asteroid. This was not known whether that would work because the structural integrity of asteroids is not well understood. You can push on one piece, that might break off and leave the rest in place.
Yeah.
We don't know this. So the more of these kinds of missions that we launch, the safer we might feel going forward when one of these gets discovered that could be headed towards Earth.
Yeah. All right. So now let me ask you also about these executive orders, the DEI orders that are now, at first I think people felt maybe in some of the government agencies, okay, it's just rhetoric. Call it whatever you want to call it, continue with it. It now appears that that's not the case, right? This is not rhetoric, this is reality. Look at NASA, for example, the web pages that would talk about the diversity of the space program. Just to say, look at how diverse our program is. This is something that we are proud of. Look at the 404 warning you get now. It's gone. Programs promoting diversity and inclusion, even Black History Month, or Black astronauts, women astronauts, minority astronauts, just things, again, that the space program that NASA was proud of appear at this point to have been shut down. You sit here.
Now we're getting to what really matters and what should terrify everyone who cares about progress. The CNN host just laid it out. Programs promoting diversity and inclusion, even Black History Month, or Black astronauts, women astronauts, minority astronauts, just things that the space program that NASA was proud of appear at this point to have been shut down. Let me be very clear about what this means. This isn't about removing woke propaganda or whatever dismissive term gets thrown around. These were pages celebrating actual achievements by actual people who happened to be women, Black, Latino, Asian, LGBTQ. These were recruitment tools showing young people from all backgrounds that space is for them too. And now, 404 error, gone, erased. The host asked Neil, "You sit here as a Black astrophysicist. What's your response? How are you processing this?" And I want to sit with that question because it reveals something deeper. Neil shouldn't have to process this. He shouldn't have to defend the existence of pages that simply acknowledge that diversity exists and is valuable. But here we are. And here's what makes me furious. They're calling this merit-based hiring now, as if diverse candidates weren't already qualified. as if NASA was just randomly picking people based on identity, rather than the years of education, training, and excellence required to work in aerospace. You don't become an astronaut because of a diversity initiative. You become an astronaut because you're exceptional. And then some diversity initiatives help make sure NASA is actually looking at all the exceptional people, not just the ones who fit a certain profile. This rollback sends a message, and that message is loud. It says if you're not part of the default group, your achievements are suspect. It says representation doesn't matter. It says we're going backwards. And what kills me is that we know what happens when we don't actively work against bias. We get homogenous teams that miss perspectives, that overlook talent, that make worse decisions because everyone thinks the same way. NASA used to be proud of how far it had come. Now, that pride is being deleted, literally, from the internet.
As a black astrophysicist, how are you processing this?
Yeah, so when I grew up, people said, oh, did you want to be an astronaut when you were a kid? I'm old enough to have lived through the 60s,
Yep.
the moon landing and the rest. And I said no, because it was clear they were not interested in me by who they were sending into space.
So you saw the lack of color.
As a child,
Yes.
I knew this.
Mhm.
And but it was more than that. Everyone was wearing like crew cuts at a time when the Broadway musical Hair was number one.
Right.
So there was some mismatches between who we were sending in space and what culture was doing. I still valued that we were going into space, but I didn't feel like I was a part of that. And with DEI, so I always viewed that as a way to encourage agencies to look in places you hadn't looked before for talent that you've been missing. Yeah. And so if we're going to stop that, and you think every person who's the right, who's correct for a job is white male, that's I don't know what that means. Yeah. And to fire a 4-star Air Force general with an advanced degree in aerospace engineering, replace him with someone who is who's not a general, a 3-star general. We would be the first 3-star general as head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff ever. That seems like a different form of DEI. It's like you're favoring someone else who's not even qualified.
All right, Neil. Well, thank you very much.
This is the part that hits hardest. And Neil just gave us the most powerful testimony. He said, I said no because it was clear they were not interested in me by who they were sending into space. Think about that. A future astrophysicist, someone who would become one of the most prominent science communicators in the world, looked at the space program as a child and said, that's not for me, because he didn't see himself represented. That's not sensitivity. That's not playing victim. That's a direct loss of talent because the program failed to signal inclusivity. How many other Neil deGrasse Tysons did we lose? How many brilliant minds looked at NASA in the 60s and 70s and said, they don't want people like me, and went into other fields or gave up entirely? We'll never know because that talent was wasted. And now, here's where the hypocrisy gets absurd. Neil pointed out something that should make everyone's head explode. They fired to fire a 4-star Air Force general with an advanced degree in aerospace engineering, replace him with someone who's not a general, or a 3-star general. Let me repeat that. They fired someone with 4 stars, with an advanced degree in the actual field, and replaced them with someone less qualified. And then Neil lands the knockout punch. That seems like a different form of DEI. It's like you're favoring someone else who's not even qualified. Exactly. This is what people don't understand. When you remove DEI initiatives, you don't automatically get pure merit. You get a different kind of favoritism. You get people hired because they're in the right networks, because they look like the decision makers, because they're comfortable and familiar. That's not merit. That's just bias in the other direction. The people screaming about merit-based hiring just removed a 4-star general for someone with fewer qualifications. The people claiming DEI lowers standards just deleted recognition of actual accomplished astronauts. The people saying just focus on excellence just made it harder for excellent people from diverse backgrounds to even imagine themselves in these roles. This isn't about protecting merit. This is about protecting comfort. This is about going back to a time when you didn't have to see or acknowledge people who don't look like you. And what makes me furious is that they're wrapping it in the language of fairness while actively making things less fair. Neil's story proves the point. Representation matters because it unlocks talent we would otherwise miss. And rolling that back doesn't make us more excellent. It makes us more limited, more narrow, and ultimately weaker in our pursuit of actual greatness. That's the part they'll never admit. So what do you think of this? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.